Hello and welcome back to Gosforth Handyman. About 3 years ago I bought this DeWalt DW682K Biscuit jointer. It wasn't particularly cheap at around 200 quid, and from the moment I first started using it I was never particularly happy with the accuracy of the joints I was getting from it. As a result, I very rarely used it and ended up using other jointing methods such as dados or pocket screws. In all honesty, I thought it was something I was doing wrong and I just haven't had time to look into it properly. But as you will see from this video, it was a fault with the jointer and it's very easy to fix. And unless I'm missing something, there's no mention of how to do this in the instruction manual. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to cut a biscuit slot in this piece of 18mm MDF. And by the way, I always try to use the base plate as a reference if at all possible. It's just inherently more accurate than the fence. So I've got a nice flat piece of melamine to reference off, and I'm cutting a slot for a number 20 biscuit. Now you can see the biscuit isn't quite central to the material, but that doesn't matter. As long as both sides of the joint are referencing off the same edge, it'll be fine. The critical bit is that the cut is parallel. So I've got the calipers out and I'm measuring the depth of the cut from the reference edge. And guess what, folks? It ain't parallel. The right hand side is 7.74mm high. And the left hand edge is 7.5mm high. So that's 1/4 of a millimetre out, and the trouble is, depending on which way round you're doing your cuts, that error could be multiplied by a factor of 2, and if your joints are out by 1/2 millimetre, you're going to notice it. And you can feel straight away that the left hand side of the base plate casting isn't flush with the blade cover, which is your reference point. In other words, the blade's wonky. Interestingly, on the DeWalt website it says, "How do I adjust the DW682 if the biscuit does not fit properly?" And it goes on to say, to have a parallel slot it is necessary to make sure the blade cover is flush with the casting. To check this, run your finger across the joint where they meet. In most cases one side will not be flush. What? To correct this, loosen the 2 number 20 Torx screws at the front of the unit directly above the anti-slip pins and tighten them with the 2 pieces flush. So this is obviously a known problem with the unit. Shame on you, DeWalt. Send us some free tools and all will be forgiven. So before I do anything, I'm going to take the base plate off, check the blade and give everything a clean out just on the off chance there's something under here which is throwing things off. So I'll show you how to change the blade while I'm at it. Unless you're not particularly bothered about having fingers, I would suggest unplugging it from the mains while you do this. So just loosen these 4 Torx screws and then the base plate hinges back. You can then lock the spindle with this little silver button here and use the blade removal tool anti-clockwise to loosen the blade nut. You can then take the blade out, remove the bushing to clean underneath if needs be. And obviously make sure you put the bushing and the blade back the right way round. Lock the spindle and tighten it clockwise. I'm going to give this a quick clean out, but you can see it's not had much use. So I'll lightly tighten the 4 base plate screws up. This one felt like there was a bit of rubbish in the thread, so I'm just redoing that one. And then I'll go back and tighten each one up properly. Right, so to adjust the cut angle, you've got these screws next to the anti-slip pins. They're combined Torx flathead screws. So all I'm doing is loosening each one and gently tightening it back up while checking the base plate is perfectly true to the fence casting. This can be a bit fiddly since when you tighten one side it'll sometimes throw the other end out, but just keep making small adjustments to both ends until you're happy. It only takes a couple of minutes. Just doing it by feel to start with, and then I'll do a final check with a straight edge before giving everything a final tighten. That feels pretty close to perfect to me. So I'll give it another try on the back side of the same piece of MDF, give everything a quick clean out, and we'll see what we've got now. And by the way, I've seen a few YouTube videos where they're demonstrating using a biscuit joint or using the fence as a reference on one side of the joint and then the base plate as a reference on the other side of the joint. Unless I'm missing something, that will not work. You need to stick to one or the other or you'll end up with inaccurate joints. So whatever reference guide you use, whether it's a base plate or the fence, just be consistent. If you use a mixture of both, you're going to run into problems. So the right hand side of the slot is now 7.4 millimeters from the reference edge. And the left hand side is 7.36 millimeters from the reference edge. A difference of 0.04 millimeters, which is close enough for me. So I'll quickly pop a matching slot in a right angle joint. I'm just using a square to help keep the piece vertical. And that's now perfect, and it's an actual usable tool now that I'm sure you'll see me use more on future projects. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.